Looking for a guaranteed way to create content that resonates with your audience? Start a podcast. Interview your ideal clients and let them choose the topic of the interview. Because if your ideal clients care about the topic, there's a good chance the rest of your audience will care about it too. Learn more at sweetfishmedia.com.
You're listening to B2B Growth, a daily podcast for B2B leaders. We've interviewed names you've probably heard before, like Gary Vaynerchuk and Simon Sinek, but you've probably never heard from the majority of our guests. That's because the bulk of our interviews aren't with professional speakers and authors. Most of our guests are in the trenches leading sales and marketing teams. They're implementing strategy. They're experimenting with tactics. They're building the fastest growing B2B companies in the world. My name is James Carberry. I'm the founder of Sweetfish Media, a podcast agency for B2B brands, and I'm also one of the co-hosts of this show. When we're not interviewing sales and marketing leaders, you'll hear stories from behind the scenes of our own business. We'll share the ups and downs of our journey as we attempt to take over the world. Just kidding. Well, maybe. Let's get into the show.
Welcome back to the B2B Growth Show. We're here today with Edwin Abl. He is the CMO at Hive Learning. Edwin, how are you doing today?
I'm good, thanks. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well. Edwin, thanks for joining us on the show. It is a pleasure to have you. We've been meaning to record this interview for a while, and we've got a topic I think our audience is really going to find interesting today, the fallacy of sales and marketing alignment, something that you and James were talking about a while back. So I'm really excited to dive into this topic and hear your thoughts on it. I think you've got some great perspective given your background. But before we do that, Edwin, I'd love for you to take a second, share with our audience who you are and what you and the team at Hive Learning are up to these days.
Perfect. Yeah, no, thanks, Logan, and pleasure to be here, and hopefully can pass on some learnings and some practical stuff that I've been learning over the last few years myself. Quick introduction to Hive Learning. So Hive Learning is a mobile-first learning app, a multi-device platform for enterprise organizations. It delivers group collaborative and peer-to-peer driven learning than against the traditional LMS-type lonely learning environments, which are proven to not work. It's a content-rich platform. It's built for simplicity, ease of use. And one of our biggest USPs is that it's designed for developing a habit of learning and building everyday engagement. We typically see results that include sort of 1.5% increased learning retention from your user base. We typically see 11x plus reduction in training spend for large organizations. And as a poll, in terms of user base, we have 82% of Hive users rate us as a useful and engaging solution. So that gives us a little background on us. We're headquartered in the UK, and we have offices in the US, Singapore, and India.
Nice. Edwin, I love it. It seems like anytime you can add collaboration, things get better. So whether that's learning or customer success or sales. So great to hear that you guys are adding that component to the traditional LMS space there. Edwin, as we were talking a little bit offline, you mentioned a little bit of your unique background coming from sales and moving to marketing. Obviously, now you run the marketing team and enterprise growth at Hive Learning. So I would love for you to share a little bit more about your background and that transition from sales into marketing, because I think that provides a good frame of reference in your take on sales and marketing alignment and where that might be a little bit different than what a lot of people are talking about these days.
Sure, no, absolutely. In terms of my background, I started my career a long time ago now, unfortunately, back in 2003 in the staffing industry. So very much sort of a cold selling role, a really tough job, but it taught you some fantastic principles around how you run a sales process and how to deal with relationships on both sides of the fence. And I did that for several years as a pure sales role, and then moved into setting up my own business for 6-7 years in the Salesforce.com ecosystem. So a small consulting firm based out of Europe in that area. And again, I was leading that company with a colleague of mine and very much focused on the sales side. And that's when I got more involved in the marketing aspects, because it was obviously more around how we build our brand and website. And that was around the introduction of, HubSpot coming in the market with inbound, and how you kind of attract more people, inbound in terms of a lead flow. And then that's when actually I shifted careers and joined an organization called Aperio, who are a global services partner for Salesforce.com and Workday and Google. So they provided professional services around those particular products, and they pioneered these worker and customer experience concepts with regards to how you deliver technology to sort of empower your workers to deliver better customer service outcomes. And that was my first marketing role. And so from the transition, I kind of took a lot of sales principles into marketing, not coming from a marketing background and looking to build out a marketing team from a marketing philosophy. I guess I was building out a marketing team from a sales philosophy. And I developed and grew that group over a 4.5-year period at Aperio. And we saw pipeline growth from when I joined. We had obviously next to nothing, so around $30,000 in pipeline, and then on when I left, we were generating in my final year about 130 million in pipeline. So we had a quite a strong exponential growth of 30k to 133 million over that period of time, and really that was based on the principles of really having a real sales mindset around how we approached our marketing, and not looking at it from a sort of MQL standpoint or the kind of the metrics which marketing often looks at, but looking at more from like how we can close revenue and what's our quickest pathway to closing revenue. And from that, I joined Hive around 8 months ago. Aperio was acquired by Wipro. And I've obviously taken that. We're building on the company here. So again, starting from scratch, how do we build a pipeline that delivers more conversion to a sales perspective? So I hope that helps give some color on my background.
Yeah, I think, that will kind of, frame a lot of the things that you wanted to share in how we can approach sales and marketing alignment differently. As we were talking before, you mentioned, sales and marketing alignment. I think we kind of need to define it differently, or at least you have some thoughts there on getting beyond just, sales and marketing getting along. That's them getting along, but that's not necessarily alignment. How would you take that definition maybe a little bit further as far as sales and marketing alignment goes, Edwin?
Yeah, great question. I mean, for me, where I stand on that, I think a lot of people look at sales and marketing alignment as more around the softer, do sales and marketing get on with each other? So does the VP of marketing get on with the sales VP? Are they buddies, and do they understand each other? And that for them is sort of that sales and marketing alignment. So guys in the marketing team are good friends with people in the sales team. And, there's that's the connection that often people look at. And that's what they think sales and marketing alignment is. And I just think that, and I don't think that's the case with every organization naturally, but I think a lot of the time that's what it stems down to, because I don't think either the VP of sales is too distracted to think about it too much and interfering with the marketing stuff. And the VP of marketing in a way is a lot of time thinks, well, it's cool, I've kind of got sales and marketing alignment because I'm good buddies with the sales VP or whoever. And then, to the CEO, they can kind of exude that, well, there is alignment because we are, we get on with each other, but it's not really about getting on with each other. It's about the actual understanding of what matters to a business, and what matters is obviously revenue and closed revenue. And I wouldn't say it was a revelation, but I do remember, again, HubSpot have done so many good things over the years, but the one thing that influenced me many, many years ago, when I transitioned into the role at Aperio, because I was obsessed with, okay, now I'm doing a marketing role, but how do I prove like I've got a really valuable seat at the table? People are going to respect what I do, because obviously sales gets respect from closing business. That's why they're more popular in an organization than marketing in terms of like actual business outputs. And I read the report around, how you create a service level agreement between sales and marketing. That was the first time that stimulated the practical thoughts in my head around, okay, well, how do you actually apply this in the job itself? Like, how do we actually agree, what are really good outcomes, so that it moves beyond just we're getting on with each other conversation, and we think we're helping sales, to actually, there's a real business value, and you can really justify and articulate the value that you're bringing to the company, and then that in turn will help your presence and reputation within either an investment board of directors or with your CEO or the senior leadership teams.
Mm-hmm. I love that, Edwin. So as you were talking about this before we hit record, you mentioned some specific challenges and some ways that teams can approach this. So, we're realizing through this conversation that we need to get beyond just getting along with each other. And the first challenge you mentioned between sales and marketing is that pipeline and revenue are two disconnected psychologically. Tell us a little bit more about what you mean by that.
Yeah. So what I mean by that, and in terms of practical tips, because I know it's helpful for people to get practical stuff they can go away and reflect on and try and put into their day-to-day roles. And this is one of the practical things I think people can think about, is that right now marketing thinks about pipeline, sales think about revenue, and then when you have sort of sales and marketing meetings, marketing talk about pipeline, sales will talk about not getting then there's not enough revenue, but where's the pipeline coming from? And marketing is still stuck in this psychological kind of bubble of it's about us having a pipeline number. And then because we hit our pipeline number or we're close to it, they're moving on. They're like, I've done my job. It's, even in an SLA scenario, you're like, I've hit my pipeline SLA. So the problem is not me. The problem is sales now. And so even though you might have alignment, you've still got this psychological thing in marketing world that you've done your bit, but it's not actually giving any value to the business. So at the end of the day, if you hit your pipeline number and the company doesn't hit their number, what you've done is insignificant. I mean, that's just the reality of it. And so I think for me, the practical thing here is not, as a marketing group or marketing leader, you've got to psychologically attach yourself more to revenue than you do to pipeline, and really get on the same page of what sales care about. And if you do that in everything you communicate and discuss with your peers from a sales standpoint, you'll get more buy-in with them, but also you'll understand the reality of what it actually means. I think too many marketers are still disconnected from what revenue is and what it means, like how difficult it really is to actually close deals, and that it's not just about something's gone wrong even though we've done our pipeline number. The best marketers right now and in the future will be the ones who really have a deep understanding of the sales process post pipeline. So how do you close a deal, and how do you understand the nuances of the complexities of closing B2B enterprise deals? And that's really what's important from a marketing function or you as a marketing individual. So I'd recommend go away and learn about sales process, learn about how difficult it is to close revenue, learn about the conversion metrics of that. Don't just learn about MQL to SQL and marketing metrics. And that's going to make you stand out when you have exec level conversations or you have conversations with leaders in companies.
Today's growth story is about one of the world's largest cloud cybersecurity firms. Their challenge? To build and execute a global demand generation strategy. Fortunately, this firm tackled their challenge by joining forces with a marketing partner that delivered a dynamic display campaign that was aligned to the sales and marketing efforts of target accounts. The results? The cybersecurity firm saw a 120% increase in their global display click-through rate. And here's the big one. They generated $39 in their pipeline for every $1 spent on predictive display. So what kind of partner can deliver these results? MRP Prolytics. MRP Prolytics is an insights-powered account-based marketing platform with streaming predictive analytics baked into its core. Integrating multi-channel ABM execution on these insights, MRP Prolytics triggers display, email, direct mail, and global inside sales in real time, helping the largest marketing departments in the world deliver the right message to their customers at just the right time. Can MRP Prolytics get similar results for you? Probably. Find out by visiting mrpfd.com or click the link in the episode description of this interview. All right, let's get back to the show.
Edwin, what do you think about, what is in your experience, sales' view on content? We're talking a little bit about how marketing feels about revenue or maybe doesn't think about it enough. The flip side of that, what do you typically see sales' view on content from the marketing side?
again, there's two sides to the picture here, which we need to get right if you want to do it right. And I think sales. So what normally happens is marketing pushes content to sales, thinking that if we push and aggregate content to them, that they're going to love it. And basically, why aren't they using that content to close deals? Because we're giving them an ebook, we're giving them blog posts, we're giving them product comparisons, and so because they're getting content, we're doing our job again. But for salespeople, content is helpful on the one hand, but it doesn't really move any needle for them at all. It just creates added noise in their already complex, busy daily world, and they sometimes they don't know what to do with it. They don't know how it should be used, and they don't really know the context of how it's specifically going to move a deal forward. In some ways, it's not overall that helpful, although there's good aspirations from marketing to make it helpful. I think that's that's where it falls down a bit. The thing to take away, again, if you're in to do this really well, content is important. And it's not to think that, sales don't care about content, but they should. But you have to frame all your content around stories. And we all know storytelling is important, but it's the way you communicate to those sales reps or the sales VP. How does each piece of your content fit to a particular story that a salesperson can then go and tell and articulate to a prospect or a customer? And if you build your content programs, or you build the way you deliver the content to sales all around the story or what the story means, then sales are going to absorb that, and it's going to be embedded in a much easier way for them, and they're more likely to go and use it. So my advice, in short, would be wrap everything around a layer in a story, either it be customer success, or if you don't have a customer success story yet, wrap it in a story in the industry that you can tag to in some way. And then by doing that, you're going to make sales care more about the content that you effectively deliver to them.
Definitely. I can definitely relate to that, in my experience in B2B sales. So I love that. And it sounds, again, like, what you're really recommending, Edwin, is just taking a step further, mentally and then logistically in what you're already doing, but just taking it a step further to walk in sales' shoes and to bridge that gap a little bit more. The last thing I know you wanted to hit on a little bit was, this disconnect sometimes when marketing thinks that they can train sales. Tell us a little bit more about your experience in that area and what you recommend to folks.
Yeah, definitely. I like this one in particular. I think because I'm passionate about learning and personal development as a whole, and obviously Hive Learning, we're here from a learning platform context of how you make learning more effective, more embedded in your daily life, more as a habit. And I think this is why it's quite fascinating from a marketing think they can train sales. And I think this is what's broken with sales enablement, and sales ops as a concept, because it's a bit similar to marketing training sales, whether sales ops sits in the marketing function or the sales function. Okay. I think, we're approaching training salespeople, again, from the lens of our perspective. It's a bit like selling. You've got to sell by thinking about what matters to the other person, and how you can help them do their job better, or whatever, the context. And it's the same with this, that we're doing the same internally with training sales. We're going at that approach from a top-down marketing. We think we know best because we've read loads of stuff around what's important with the sales funnel. We're producing loads of content. We're the experts in all that good stuff. And it's really, the salespeople just, the people, they're not clever enough to get it. And that's, kind of a perception that can happen sometimes. And that's not the reality. It's on marketing or sales ops to kind of, again, be a bit more thoughtful, like the last point, around how you deliver the communications to salespeople, and not around us doing workshops every 2 weeks and telling them how they should be selling and expecting that they're going to know and then go and apply that in their day-to-day lives. That's not going to happen. And we've got to, I think we've got to take a step back and understand the way salespeople learn is from each other. and they learn. The most effective way salespeople learn is through peer-driven knowledge sharing of like how to run deals, how they close the deals, what they learn from losing a deal. And that's it really for me. That's the 3 things they learn from. Yep. And then they apply those learnings in their day-to-day activities. So we need to think about our marketing approach and training them with the context of those 3 pillars, and not being at the forefront of, hey, we're marketing and we're teaching you how to do it. More like, we're understanding these 3 components. How do we create an environment that salespeople learn in this way that could have that obviously has embedded marketing content and has our potential advice or guidance or teachings, but we're not delivering it in a top-down fashion. We're embedding it in those 3 pillars of the way salespeople then want to learn. And if you do that, then that's going to make it far more effective, and you'll get more of an outcome from your sales folks being bought into the training. They're going to derive more purpose. And then if people derive more purpose, then, they're more motivated, and then they actually do things more effectively.
That makes a ton of sense, Edwin. I think, that's so true. I mean, a lot of the people I'm connected with and, find value in their content on LinkedIn are, other B2B sales folks, and learning from them. Very, very tangible, very tactical. This is what I did. This is what worked. This is where a deal fell flat. This is anything that you can learn from a peer, even if they're not within your company, if they have, a similar sales cycle or similar buyers. I think you hit the nail on the head. That is where salespeople are looking for more development. So if marketing can frame their expertise to be able to empower sales in that context, I think that salespeople will definitely gravitate to that more than here's what we know from a marketing perspective, so go apply it to your sales process. I absolutely love that. Edwin, if anybody listening to this would like to reach out to you, ask any follow-up questions on sales and marketing alignment, or connect with you or find out more about what Hive Learning is doing, what's the best way for them to reach out?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I'd love to connect and continue the conversations if people wanted to dig a bit deeper. You can reach me. I have a website, www.edwinabl.com. So that's edwinabl.com. I run a weekly newsletter actually, so I send out sort of top 7 things I learn each week. A lot revolves around what we've discussed today. You can also find me on Twitter at @edabl, and then. Again, we work with sales organizations and help them with their learning and development on the 3rd point. So if you did want to learn a bit more about Hive, just simply go to hivelearning.com. And we have actually what's called open hives. And open hives are learning groups that anyone can join, and they're free to join. And they've got expertise from leading authorities like Matthew Syed on growth mindset. And then Sir Clive Woodward, who's a famous sports coach in the UK, around how you deliver high performance. So anyone can go in those and have a...
I love that, Edwin. Thanks for sharing, and thanks again for being on the show today.
Great. Thanks a lot, Logan.
Becoming a thought leader doesn't just happen. If you want to build a strong personal brand and extend your reach online and offline, you need a plan. Want help developing yours? Check out Impact Summit. This one-day event is bringing together best-selling authors, professional athletes, influential CEOs, and emerging entrepreneurs, all for one purpose: to equip you to lead, influence, and inspire. Whether you're looking to build a lasting legacy with your business or extend the reach of your brand, Impact Summit speakers will share inspiring stories and practical lessons to help you on your way. Did we mention a session on launching and growing a podcast? You guessed it, you'll hear from Sweetfish Media's own James Carberry during that session. You won't want to miss all of these influencers and leaders coming together in Salt Lake City on October 13th. Ready to learn more? Check out influencerinc.co/Impact Summit. B2B Growth listeners can get 15% off the price of their tickets for this event by using the promo code SWEETFISH, SWEETFISH. So use that code, get your tickets today, and get ready to grow your brand and your influence at Impact Summit 2018.